a river stained with blood, over 70 young women murdered. The killer returned to the scenes like a worshiper of the dead. For nearly 20 years, Seattle lived in terror. Police were powerless, the public outraged, and one female detective refused to give up. Subscribe now to follow the hunt for one of America's deadliest serial killers. From 1982 to 2001, Seattle and Tacoma, Washington state, were gripped by fear of the Green River Killer, a serial murderer who took the lives of at least 49 women and girls, mostly prostitutes or runaways. The perpetrator, Gary Leon Ridgway, lured victims to secluded areas, strangled them, and dumped their bodies in the forest or along the Green River. He often returned to the scene to commit perverse acts. The series follows Detective Claire Donovan, a female investigator on the Green River Task Force, who began probing the disappearances and murders in 1982 when bodies started appearing. With clues such as fabric fibers, paint droplets, and later DNA, Claire faced pressure from the public, the media, and the haunting brutality of the killer. Set against the backdrop of Seattle-Tacoma in the 1980s, 2000s, with its damp rain, dense forests, and grim urban atmosphere, the story unfolds as a psychological thriller chronicling a nearly two-decade-long manhunt that culminated in Ridgway's arrest in 2001. The River of Blood, true crime series on the Green River Killer. Authenticity. Historical record. The case is documented in the King County Police files from 1982 to 2001. At least 49 confirmed victims, primarily young women, were found along the Green River or in nearby woods. Gary Ridgway was arrested on November 30th, 2001, based on DNA evidence from semen and paint droplets matching samples at the crime scenes. In court in 2003, he confessed to 71 murders and was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole. Physical evidence. Autopsy reports confirmed strangulation as the method of killing, with traces of fabric fibers, paint droplets from Ridgway's truck, and semen DNA. No murder weapon was left at the scenes, but Ridgway often used rope or his hands. Local culture. In the 1980s, 1990s, Seattle and Tacoma were urban centers with impoverished neighborhoods where sex workers and the homeless were especially vulnerable. Media outlets like the Seattle Times sensationalized the story, heightening public panic. References: Green River, running red by and rule, King County Court. Records and reports from the Green River Task Force. Episode 1: The River of Blood. On July 15, 1982, Claire Donovan stood by the banks of the Green River near Kent, Washington, under the persistent drizzle. The police lantern lights shone down on the body of Wendy Lee Coffield, 16, floating among weeds and debris. She wore a short skirt, with bruises clearly visible around her neck, and her eyes wide open as if staring into the void. Wearing a long coat and her hair tightly pinned back, Claire knelt down, scribbling in her notebook. Strangulation, she muttered, noting the absence of struggle marks. Officer Dave Reichert, who had found the body, reported, "A fisherman spotted her this morning around 6 a.m. Claire examined the scene and discovered a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near the body. It didn't match Wendy's clothing. Nearby, A tiny brown paint droplet, dried and hardened on a rock, caught her eye. "This isn't random," she said, carefully collecting the fiber and paint sample into plastic bags. A crowd of locals had gathered along the riverbank, whispering about a killer in the woods. Claire ordered the body to be taken to the King County morgue, a sense of unease rising within her. This isn't an ordinary murder, she thought, watching the Green River flow quietly in the mist. At the King County morgue, forensic pathologist Dr. Robert Keppel, a sharp-eyed middle-aged man, performed the autopsy under fluorescent lights. Claire stood nearby, observing. She was strangled, possibly with a rope or bare hands. Keppel said, pointing to the bruises on Wendy's neck. No signs of sexual assault, but the killer was strong and fast. Claire took notes, asking, "Anything unusual?" Keppel pointed to a small scratch on Wendy's hand. She may have tried to fight back, but not for long. He examined the clothing and found another blue polyester fiber clinging to the skirt. "Matches the one at the scene," Claire said, comparing it to her sample. "Could be from the killer's vehicle or clothing." The brown paint droplet was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned, "That paint is common in auto repair shops. It'll be hard to trace." Claire left the morgue with a heavy heart. She ordered officers to sweep the Green River area for more fibers or paint. "He's going to kill again," she muttered, stepping into the fog-drenched street. Back at the King County Sheriff's Office, Claire laid out the evidence: blue polyester fibers, the brown paint droplet, and the autopsy report. She wrote in her notes, "The killer knows the Green River, likely drives, and is physically strong." She interviewed a witness, a truck driver named John Hansen, who had seen Wendy near South 144th Street on the night of July 8th. She was talking to some guy, Hansen recalled. Tall, around 30, wearing a jacket, driving a pickup truck. He seemed normal, but his eyes were cold. Claire noted her suspicions. The killer was probably a local man, possibly employed in trucking or auto repair. She ordered inspections of paint shops across Seattle to track the source of the brown paint. Officer Ted Bennett reported, "There are a few garages that use that kind of paint, but it'll take time." Claire nodded, knowing the killer was hiding somewhere in the city. She visited a rundown neighborhood near the Green River where sex workers and the homeless often gathered. A girl named Linda Jane said, "Wendy used to work here. She told me some guy offered her a lot of money, but she was scared of him." Claire wrote down the description: tall man, brown hair, drives a pickup truck. She felt the pieces. We're getting closer. Yet Seattle's mist still cloaked the killer in shadows. At the sheriff's office, Claire faced pressure from the press. The Seattle Times ran a headline: "Teen girl's body found in Green River. Serial killer?" Citizens gathered outside headquarters, demanding answers. A woman, the mother of a missing girl, sobbed in front of Claire. "My daughter could be next." Claire kept her composure, promising, "We're following leads. He won't get away." She met with the newly formed Green River Task Force, led by Chief Frank Adamson. "We have the fiber, the paint droplet, and a description of a man driving a pickup truck," Claire reported. "We need patrols near the Green River and must question local truck drivers." Adamson nodded but warned, "The public is panicking. Donovan, find him before more bodies surface." Claire left the meeting, feeling the pressure bearing down like Seattle's unending rain. She knew the killer was still out there, and Wendy Lee Coffield was only the first. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, streetlights barely piercing through the drizzle. She checked a wooded area near South 144th Street and found another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. "Same type," she muttered carefully, bagging it. Nearby, a small brown paint droplet rested on a rock, identical to the one near Wendy's body. "He came back here," she told Officer Bennett, her eyes sharp. She heard a snap in the woods, a branch breaking. Claire drew her gun, heart racing, but it was only a deer darting away. "He's watching us," she thought, gripping her notebook tight. Back at the station, she received the lab results. The polyester fiber likely came from a truck seat, and the brown paint matched types used in Seattle auto body shops. Claire took notes and made a decision. Focus on truck drivers in the Green River area. After Wendy Lee Coffield's murder, Claire Donovan identified the killer as a man who drove a pickup truck and was familiar with the Green River. The polyester fibers and brown paint remained her key clues. In August 1983, two more bodies, Opal Mills and Cynthia Hines, were found along the Green River, both bearing strangulation marks and the same fiber traces. Claire questioned a new suspect, a truck driver named Gary Ridgway, but his alibi temporarily concealed his guilt. As media pressure and public fear intensified, Claire was drawn into an increasingly tense manhunt, realizing the Green River killer was turning Seattle into a true river of blood. Episode 2: The Fear of Seattle. On August 12, 1983, Claire Donovan stood by the banks of the Green River near Auburn, Washington, beneath relentless rain. The body of 16-year-old Opal Mills was found in the brush, with bruises on her neck and a torn skirt. Just a few meters away, the body of 17-year-old Cynthia Hines lay among reeds, bearing identical strangulation marks. Claire knelt, writing in her notebook. "He's striking back to back," she muttered, noting the dried blood on the ground and the absence of signs of struggle. Officer Ted Bennett, who found the bodies, reported, "A passerby saw them this morning, around 5:30 a.m. Claire examined the scene and discovered a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near Opal, matching the one from the Wendy Lee Coffield case. A small, hardened droplet of brown paint on a nearby rock near Cynthia made her heart race. "Same killer," she said, carefully collecting the fiber and paint sample. A crowd had gathered along the riverbank, whispering about the Green River killer. Claire ordered the bodies to be taken to the King County morgue, a growing sense of dread rising in her. "He's escalating," she thought, watching the Green River blur into the fog. At the King County morgue, forensic pathologist Robert Keppel conducted the autopsies of Opal Mills and Cynthia Hines. Claire stood nearby, focused. Both were strangled, likely with nylon cord, Keppel said, pointing to the bruises around their necks. No signs of sexual assault, but the killer was strong and fast. Claire took notes and asked, "Anything different from the Coffield case?" Keppel pointed to a small scratch on Opal's hand. "She may have tried to fight back, but not for long." Hines had no scratch marks. He found another blue polyester fiber on Cynthia's skirt, matching the fibers found at the scene. "Same as the Coffield case," Claire said. Possibly. From the killer's truck seat. The brown paint droplet from the scene was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned. That paint's common at auto repair shops around Seattle. It'll be hard to trace. Claire left the morgue with a heavy heart. She ordered searches along the Green River for more fibers or paint. He's leaving traces on purpose, she muttered, stepping out onto the damp street. Back at the King County Sheriff's Office, Claire laid out the clues on her desk: blue polyester fibers, the brown paint sample, and the autopsy reports. She wrote, "The killer knows the Green River, maybe a truck driver, around 30 years old. A new witness, Sarah Collins, a sex worker who operated near South 144th Street, reported seeing Opal Mills talking to a tall man with brown hair driving a green pickup truck on the night of August 10th. He paid her, but his voice was cold," Sarah said. "I've seen him around a few times." Claire noted the description and suspected the killer was a local, likely working in transportation. She ordered checks of auto shops and truck drivers around Seattle. Officer Bennett brought her a name: Gary Leon Ridgway, a 34-year-old truck painter previously arrested for soliciting a prostitute in 1982. He lives near the Green River. Drives a green pickup, Bennett said. Claire wrote down Ridgway's name and decided to question him. She visited Ridgway's house in Renton, a poor neighborhood near the Green River. Ridgway, a thin man with evasive eyes, opened the door. "I don't know anything about those girls," he said calmly. Claire asked about the night of August 10th, but Ridgway claimed he was home with his wife. She examined his truck, blue polyester seats, but no clear brown paint residue. "He's too calm," she thought, leaving his house with lingering suspicion. At the sheriff's office, Claire faced a storm of media attention. The Seattle Times published a front-page article: "Green River Killer Strikes Again. 2 more bodies found." Citizens gathered outside headquarters, shouting for the killer to be caught. A group of women, led by Jane Carter, mother of a missing girl, confronted Claire. "My daughter Marie went missing last week," Jane cried. "You have to find him." Claire replied, "We have the fibers, the paint, and a suspect. He won't get away." She met with the Green River Task Force and reported on Ridgway. "He fits the description, a truck driver familiar with the Green River area," Claire said. Sheriff Frank Adamson nodded, but warned, "Ridgway's alibi needs to be verified. The public wants results, Donovan." Claire nodded, feeling the pressure weigh down on her like Seattle's constant rain. She ordered surveillance on Ridgway, but deep down she knew the killer could be anyone in the maze of the city. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, police car headlights cutting through the fog. She searched a wooded area near where Opal and Cynthia's bodies were found and discovered another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. "Same type," she muttered, carefully bagging the sample. Nearby, a brown paint droplet on a rock resembled the one found at the crime scene. "He came back here," she told Bennett, her eyes tense. She heard a rustle in the woods, leaves shifting. Claire drew her gun, heart pounding, but only caught a fleeting shadow of an animal. "He's close," she thought, gripping her notebook tightly. Back at the station, she received lab results. The polyester fiber matched types used in truck seats, and the brown paint possibly came from an auto shop in Renton. Claire took notes, deciding to focus on Ridgway and other local truck drivers. but she felt the killer was pulling her into a dangerous game. After the murders of Opal Mills and Cynthia Hines, Claire Donovan determined the killer was a truck driver familiar with the Green River, with the blue polyester fiber and brown paint remaining as key evidence. In September 1984, the body of Deborah Estes was discovered near the Green River, bearing strangulation marks and a new sample of brown paint. Claire continued tracking Gary Ridgway, but his alibi and the lack of concrete evidence frustrated her efforts. Pressure from the press and community escalated, forcing Claire into a race against time as she realized the Green River killer was turning Seattle into a river of red water, and he was still lurking in the shadows. Episode 3: Fragile Clues. On September 12, 1984, Claire Donovan stood in the dense forest near the Green River in Burien, Washington, beneath a cold drizzle. The body of 15-year-old Deborah Estes had been found among the weeds, bruises on her neck, her clothes torn. Claire knelt, writing in her notebook. "Strangulation again," she murmured, noticing the dried blood on the ground and no signs of struggle, just like the previous cases. Officer Ted Bennett reported, "A hunter found her this morning, around 7 a.m. Claire examined the scene and discovered a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near the body, matching fibers from the Coffield, Mills, and Hines cases. A small, hardened droplet of brown paint on a nearby rock made her frown. "He's leaving. Deliberate traces," she said, carefully collecting the fiber and the paint sample. A small crowd gathered not far away, whispering about the Green River killer. Claire ordered the body taken to the King County morgue, a wave of unease rising in her. "He's not stopping," she thought, staring into the foggy Seattle woods. At the King County morgue, forensic pathologist Robert Keppel conducted the autopsy on Deborah Estes under fluorescent lighting. Claire stood beside him, observing. "Strangulation, likely with nylon cord or bare hands," Keppel said, pointing to the bruises around the neck. No signs of sexual assault, but the killer was strong and fast, just like in the previous cases. Claire took notes and asked, "Anything different?" Keppel pointed to a small scratch on Deborah's wrist. She tried to fight back, not for long. He found another blue polyester fiber clinging to her shirt, matching the others. "Looks like it's from a truck seat," Claire said. Same method again. The brown paint droplet was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned, "That paint's common in auto shops around Renton and Kent. It'll be hard to narrow down." Claire left the morgue, feeling disappointed. She ordered patrols to recheck forested areas along the Green River for more fibers or paint. "He's taunting us," she muttered, stepping into the wet Seattle street. Back at the King County Sheriff's Office, Claire laid the evidence across her desk: blue polyester fibers, brown paint sample, autopsy reports. She wrote, "The killer is a truck driver, familiar with the Green River, likely aged 30 to 35. Hey, new witness, Ellen Parker, a sex worker who operated near Pacific Highway, reported seeing Deborah Estes talking to a tall man with brown hair, driving a green pickup truck on the night of September 10th. He paid her," Ellen said, but his voice was cold and motionless. Claire refocused on Gary Ridgway, a truck painter previously questioned the year before. She returned to his house in Renton, near the Green River. Ridgway answered the door, eyes evasive. "I don't know that girl," he said calmly. Claire asked about the night of September 10th, but Ridgway claimed he was home with his wife, confirmed by a neighbor. She inspected his truck, polyester seats, but no obvious brown paint residue. "Do you go to Pacific Highway often?" she asked. Ridgway shrugged. "Sometimes, to get the truck fixed." Claire left the house, uneasy. "He's too clean," she told Officer Bennett. "But he knows this area like the back of his hand." She ordered tight surveillance on Ridgway, but knew it would be hard to arrest him without solid evidence. At the sheriff's office, Claire faced another media storm. The Seattle Times ran a headline: "Green River Killer Strikes Again. Fourth Young Girl Murdered." Crowds gathered outside headquarters, shouting for justice. Jane Carter, mother of missing girl Marie, came to see Claire, tears rolling down her face. "How many more girls will you let die?" Claire promised, her voice trembling. "We have the fibers, the paint, and a suspect. He won't escape forever." She met with the Green River Task Force to report on Ridgway. "He matches the description. Truck driver, lives near the Green River," Claire said. Sheriff Frank Adamson nodded but warned, "Ridgway's alibi is solid. Get hard evidence, Donovan, or the public will tear us apart." Claire nodded, the weight of Seattle's constant rain echoing her stress. She ordered checks on auto shops in Renton, hoping to trace the source of the brown paint. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, police headlights cutting through thick fog. She searched the woods near where Deborah's body had been found and discovered another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. "Same type," she muttered, carefully sealing the sample. Nearby, a brown paint droplet on a rock matched the earlier sample. "He came back here," she said to Bennett, eyes sharp. She heard something, a twig snapping in the woods. Claire drew her gun, heart pounding, but only caught the blurry shape of an animal running past. "He's close," she thought, gripping her notebook. Back at the station, lab reports confirmed. The brown paint matched the type used at an auto shop in Renton, one where Ridgway had worked. Claire noted it down, deciding to increase surveillance on Ridgway, but deep inside, she felt the killer was leading her into a maze with no exit. After the murder of Deborah Estes, Claire Donovan confirmed the killer was a truck driver familiar with the Green River, with the blue polyester fiber and brown paint as main clues. In 1987, Gary Ridgway became the prime suspect after being spotted near another crime scene, but his alibi and the absence of DNA evidence left Claire powerless. A new body, Gail Matthews, was found, bearing strangulation marks and matching fibers. Public and media pressure pushed Claire to the brink, as she realized the Green River killer was turning Seattle into a river of red water, and he still lurked in the shadows, defying every effort to stop him. Episode 4: The Lurking Darkness. April 8th, 1987. Claire Donovan stood in the thick forest near the Green River in Renton, Washington, beneath a steady downpour. The body of 23-year-old Gail Matthews lay in the weeds, bruises on her neck, clothing torn. Claire knelt down, jotting notes into her notebook. "He hasn't changed his method," she muttered, noticing dried red-colored water on the ground and no signs of a struggle. Just like the earlier cases, Officer Ted Bennett reported, a hiker found her. This morning, around 6:30 a.m., Claire surveyed the scene, spotting a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near the body, matching fibers from the Coffield, Mills, Hines, and Estes cases. A small, hardened brown paint droplet on a nearby rock made her heart race. "He's leaving these on purpose," she said, carefully collecting both the fiber and the paint sample. A small crowd gathered nearby, whispering about the Green River Killer. Claire ordered the body sent to King County Morgue, a sense of unease growing inside her. "He's challenging us," she thought, staring into the misty forest of Seattle. At King County Morgue, forensic pathologist Robert Keppel conducted the autopsy of Gail Matthews under fluorescent lights. Claire stood beside him, her eyes tense. "Strangulation, likely with nylon cord," Keppel said, pointing at the bruises around the neck. No signs of sexual assault, but the killer was strong and quick, just like in the previous cases. Claire took notes. "Anything new?" she asked. Keppel pointed to a small scratch on Gail's hand. She tried to fight back, but not for long. He found another blue polyester fiber on the victim's shirt, matching earlier fibers. "Looks like truck seat material," Claire said. "Same method, but he's getting bolder." The brown paint sample was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned, "This type of paint is common in Renton auto shops. We need something more specific." Claire left the morgue, feeling the weight of failure. She ordered expanded searches in wooded areas along the Green River for more fibers or paint traces. "He knows we're hunting him," she muttered, stepping into the wet street. Claire zeroed in on Gary Ridgway, the prime suspect, after he was spotted near Pacific Highway, the area where Gail Matthews worked. She returned to his house in Renton, near the Green River. Ridgway opened the door, his eyes evasive but voice steady. "I don't know that girl," he said. Claire asked about the night of April 6th, when Gail disappeared. Ridgway claimed he was home with his wife, an alibi confirmed by a coworker at his auto shop. "I worked late, fixing trucks," he said, pointing to a green truck in his yard. Claire inspected the truck, blue polyester seats, but no visible brown paint stains. "You go to Pacific Highway often?" she asked. Ridgway shrugged. "Sometimes, to deliver vehicles." Claire took notes, suspicion in her mind. "He's too confident," she told Officer Bennett as they left. "But his alibi is rock solid." She ordered 24/7 surveillance on Ridgway, knowing lack of evidence still barred an arrest. A new witness, Mary Johnson, a sex worker, reported seeing Gail talking to a tall man with brown hair, driving a green truck on the night of April 6th. "He paid her, but his eyes were cold as ice," Mary said. Claire wrote down the description. It matched Ridgway, but it wasn't enough for a warrant. At the King County Police Department, Claire faced another media storm. The Seattle Times ran a front-page headline, "Green River Killer, 5th Victim Confirmed." Crowds gathered outside headquarters, demanding justice. Jane Carter, mother of missing girl Marie, stormed into Claire's office, tears streaming. "You promised you'd catch him. Now someone else is dead." Claire responded, voice trembling. "We have the fibers, the paint, and a suspect. He'll make a mistake." She met with the Green River Task Force to update on Ridgway. He lives near the river, works at an auto shop that uses brown paint, Claire explained. Sheriff Frank Adamson nodded but cautioned Ridgway's alibi is confirmed. Get physical evidence, Donovan, or we'll lose public trust. Claire nodded, feeling Seattle's fog pressing down like the weight of judgment. She ordered investigations into auto shops in Renton and Kent, hoping to trace the brown paint. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, police headlights cutting through the fog. She examined the woods near where Gail's body was found and spotted another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. Same type, she murmured, sealing the sample carefully. Nearby, a brown paint droplet on a rock matched samples from the crime scenes. He came back here, she told Bennett, eyes sharp. Suddenly, a rustle in the woods. Leaves stirred. Claire drew her gun, heart pounding, but it was only the blurry shadow of an animal. He's close, she thought, gripping her notebook tightly. Back at the station, she received lab reports. The brown paint matched the type used at the auto shop where Ridgway worked, but it wasn't unique enough to serve as proof. Claire took notes, deciding to escalate surveillance on Ridgway. But deep down, she felt the killer was drawing her into a trap with no exit. After the murder of Gail Matthews, Claire Donovan confirmed Gary Ridgway as the top suspect, with the blue polyester fiber and brown paint as key evidence. But his alibi left her powerless. By 1990, DNA technology began to emerge, giving new hope as evidence samples from the crime scenes were tested. Another body, Kimmy Kai Pitzer, was found near the Green River, bearing signs of strangulation and matching fibers. Media and public pressure pushed Claire to the brink, as she realized the Green River killer was turning Seattle into a river of red water, and he still lurked in the darkness, taunting her every move. Episode 5, DNA Trace. April 17, 1990. Claire Donovan stood in the woods near the Green River in Kent, Washington, under a cold drizzle. The body of 16-year-old Kimmy Kai Pitzer lay in the weeds, her neck bruised, her clothes torn. Claire knelt, jotting notes into her notebook. "He hasn't changed," she muttered, noticing dried red-colored water on the ground and no signs of a struggle, just like before. Officer Ted Bennett reported, "A cyclist found her this morning, around 6 a.m. Claire examined the scene, spotting a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near the body, matching previous cases. A small, hardened brown paint droplet on a rock made her heart race. "He's leaving clues like it's a game," she said, carefully collecting the fiber and paint sample. A crowd had gathered at the edge of the woods, whispering about the Green River killer. Claire ordered the body taken to King County Morgue, a rising sense of unease gripping her. "He's still here, after 8 years," she thought, staring into Seattle's misty forest. At the King County Morgue, forensic pathologist Robert Keppel performed the autopsy under fluorescent lights. Claire stood nearby, eyes tense. "Strangulation, possibly with a nylon cord," Keppel said, pointing to bruises around the neck. No signs of sexual assault, but the killer was strong and quick, like before. Claire took notes. "Anything we can use for DNA?" Keppel nodded. pointing to a small semen sample on the victim's clothing. We could try the new DNA tech, but older samples from Coffield, Mills, Hines have degraded. It'll be hard to compare. He also found another blue polyester fiber on the victim's shirt, matching previous ones. Same as the truck. Seat material, Claire said. He hasn't changed his method. The brown paint sample was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned it's still too common around Renton. Claire left the morgue holding onto the fragile hope of DNA. She ordered the semen sample to be analyzed at the FBI lab, knowing the new technology could take months. "He's laughing at us," she muttered, stepping out into the wet street. Claire refocused on Gary Ridgway, the top suspect since 1987, after he'd been spotted near Pacific Highway. She returned to the auto shop in Renton where Ridgway worked. Now 41, he stood beside a truck, eyes evasive but voice calm. "I don't know that girl," he said when Claire asked about Kimmy Kai Pitzer. She asked about the night of April 15th, when Kimmy went missing. Ridgway claimed to be home with his wife, backed by a co-worker's confirmation. "I worked the night shift," he said, pointing to the green truck. Claire inspected the truck, blue polyester seats, but no clear brown paint stains. "You visit the Green River area often?" she asked. Ridgway shrugged. "Sometimes, to deliver vehicles." Claire took notes, her suspicions growing. "He's too careful," she told Officer Bennett as they left. "But he knows this place like the back of his hand." She ordered continued surveillance on Ridgway, but the lack of physical evidence held her back. A new witness, Lisa Brown, a sex worker, reported seeing Kimmy talking to a tall man with brown hair driving a green truck on the night of April 15th. He paid her, but his eyes were ice cold, Lisa said. Claire wrote down the description. It matched Ridgway, but it still wasn't enough for an arrest warrant. At King County Police Department, Claire faced a media storm. The Seattle Times headline screamed, "Green River Killer Strikes Again. Sixth Victim Found." Crowds gathered outside the station, shouting for justice. Jane Carter, mother of missing girl Marie, burst into Claire's office, tears streaming. "You promised to catch him. It's been 8 years." Claire responded, voice trembling. "We have DNA, the fibers, and a suspect. He won't escape. Forever." She met with the Green River Task Force to report on Ridgway and the potential of DNA. "He matches the description, works at a shop that uses brown paint," Claire said. Sheriff Frank Adamson nodded, but warned, "DNA takes time, Donovan. The public won't wait." Claire nodded, feeling the weight of Seattle's fog like a noose around her. She ordered retesting of old samples from Coffield and Mills, hoping the DNA breakthrough would come soon. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, police headlights cutting through the fog. She searched the woods near where Kimmy's body had been found and discovered another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. "Same type," she whispered, carefully bagging it. Nearby, a brown paint droplet on a rock matched samples from earlier scenes. "He came back here," she told Bennett, eyes intense. Suddenly, a noise, a branch snapped. Claire drew her gun, heart pounding, but only a blurry shadow of an animal ran past. "He's close," she thought, gripping her notebook tightly. Back at the station, she received the lab report. The semen sample from Kimmy would take more time to process, and the brown paint matched what was used at Ridgway's shop, but it still wasn't distinctive enough to convict. Claire made notes, ordering increased surveillance on Ridgway, but she felt the killer was leading her into a maze with no way out. After the murder of Kimmy Kai Pitzer, Claire Donovan pinned her hopes on DNA technology, but the degraded samples and long processing times stalled the case. Gary Ridgway remained the prime suspect, but his alibis and the lack of specific evidence left Claire frustrated. In 2001, a breakthrough finally arrived. DNA from the earlier cases matched Ridgway, offering a final chance to stop him. Another body, Marta Reeves, was discovered near the Green River, bearing strangulation marks and similar fibers. Under immense pressure from the media and the public, Claire realized the Green River killer still lurked in the shadows. But this time, she might be closer than ever to ending the blood trail. Episode 6: The Final Hunt. November 5th, 2001. Claire Donovan stood in the woods near the Green River in Auburn, Washington, beneath a cold drizzle. The body of 36-year-old Marta Reeves had been found in the weeds, her neck bruised, her clothes torn. Claire knelt down, writing in her notebook. "He still hasn't stopped," she muttered, noticing dried red-colored water on the ground and no signs of a struggle. Just like in previous cases, the now-promoted officer Ted Bennett reported, a hiker found her. This morning, around 6 a.m., Claire examined the scene and found a blue polyester fiber stuck to a bush near the body, matching those from earlier cases. A small, hardened brown paint droplet on a rock made her pulse race. "He's still leaving clues," she said carefully, collecting the fiber and paint sample. A small crowd gathered at the forest's edge, whispering about the Green River killer. Claire ordered the body taken to King County Morgue, feeling time running out. "He knows we're closer than ever," she thought, staring into the misty woods of Seattle. At the King County Morgue, forensic pathologist Robert Keppel, now gray-haired, conducted the autopsy of Marta Reeves under fluorescent lights. Claire stood beside him, her gaze tense. "Strangulation with a nylon cord," Keppel said, pointing at the bruises around the neck. "There's a small semen sample on the clothing, enough for DNA analysis." Claire took notes and asked, "Does it match the older samples?" Keppel nodded. "The sample from Reeves matches those from Coffield, Mills, and Pitzer, reanalyzed using the new DNA tech. We've got a single DNA profile." Claire felt a surge of hope. "And Ridgway?" she asked. Keppel replied, "His hair and saliva. Samples from 1987 are being compared. The FBI says we'll have results in a few days." A blue polyester fiber stuck to Marta's shirt matched earlier ones. "He hasn't changed," Claire said. The brown paint was sent for analysis, but Keppel warned, "It's still too common." Claire left the morgue, carrying fragile hope. She ordered the analysis expedited, knowing this might be her last shot at the killer. Claire zeroed in on Gary Ridgway, the prime suspect since 1987. She visited the auto shop in Renton where Ridgway, now 52, still worked. He opened the office door, his eyes evasive but voice calm. "I don't know that girl," he said when Claire asked about Marta Reeves. She asked about the night of November 3rd when Marta went missing. Ridgway insisted he was home with his wife, backed by a co-worker's confirmation. "I just worked," "Fixing trucks," he said, pointing to a green pickup. Claire inspected the truck, blue polyester seats, but no obvious brown paint stains. "You go to the Green River area often?" she asked. Ridgway shrugged. "Sometimes, to deliver vehicles." Claire took notes, sensing the coldness in his voice. "He knows we have the DNA," she told Bennett after leaving. "He's waiting for us to mess up." She ordered a new DNA sample from Ridgway under a court order and kept 24/7 surveillance that a new witness, Karen Lee, a sex worker, reported seeing Marta talking to a tall man with brown hair, driving a green truck on the night of November 3. "He paid her, but his eyes were cold as ice," Karen said. Claire wrote down the description, knowing it matched Ridgway. At the King County Police Department, Claire faced a media storm. The Seattle Times headline read, "Green River Killer, New Victim After a Decade." Crowds gathered outside the station, shouting for justice. Jane Carter, now an aging mother, of missing girl Marie, met with Claire, her voice trembling. "You promised to catch him 18 years ago." Claire, her voice hoarse, replied, "We have the DNA, the fibers, and a suspect. He won't escape." She met with the Green River Task Force to report the DNA breakthrough. "The sample from Reeves matches the earlier ones," Claire said. "If Ridgway's DNA matches, we've got him." Police Chief Frank Adamson nodded, but warned, "The public wants results now, Donovan. Don't let DNA fail us." Claire nodded, feeling Seattle's fog pressed down like a vice. She ordered all samples from previous cases to be retested, hoping DNA would unlock the case. Claire led a night patrol along the Green River, police headlights cutting through the fog. She searched the woods near where Marta's body had been found and discovered another blue polyester fiber stuck to a tree. "Same type," she whispered, sealing it carefully. Nearby, a brown paint droplet on a rock matched earlier samples. "He came back here," she told Bennett, eyes sharp at a sudden sound, the snap of a twig. Claire drew her gun, heart pounding, but it was only a blurry shape, an animal darting through the woods. "He's near," she thought, gripping her notebook tightly. Back at the station, she received the FBI report. The semen sample from Reeves and previous cases matched Ridgway's hair sample from 1987. "We've got him," Claire whispered, heart racing. She ordered an arrest warrant for Ridgway, but still felt like the killer was leading her into one last game. After the murder of Marta Reeves, Claire Donovan achieved a breakthrough. DNA from multiple cases matched Gary Ridgway, the prime suspect since 1987. With evidence including DNA, blue polyester fibers, and brown paint, Claire prepared to arrest Ridgway on November 30th, 2001. In the final interrogation, Ridgway confessed to 71 murders, revealing the extent of his brutality. As pressure from the press and community reached a climax, Claire faced a bittersweet victory, confronting the truth that many victims remained missing. In the final episode, Claire will face Ridgway in court, seeking justice, but haunted by the question, will all the Green River Killer's victims ever be brought to light? Episode 7, Justice Beneath the River. November 30th, 2001. Claire Donovan stood in front of the auto repair shop in Renton, Washington, heart pounding. A police team, led by Officer Ted Bennett, surrounded the area. Gary Leon Ridgway, 52 years old, stepped out of the shop, eyes evasive, voice calm. "What's going on?" he asked. Claire, her voice sharp, read the warrant. "Gary Ridgway, you are under arrest for murder connected to the Green River cases." She led Ridgway to the patrol car, his hands cuffed. In his jacket pocket, she found a blue polyester fiber, the same type found at the crime scenes. "He carries it like a trophy," she muttered, carefully sealing the sample. A small brown paint smear stained Ridgway's shoe, matching paint found at multiple murder sites. A crowd had gathered near the garage, shouting as Ridgway was taken away. The Seattle Times was already there, snapping photos, noting, "Green River killer caught." Claire took Ridgway to King County Police Headquarters, feeling both relieved and tense. He's the one, she thought, but she knew. The interrogation would decide everything. In the interrogation room at King County PD, Claire sat across from Ridgway beneath fluorescent lights. He was thin, calm, staring at her with empty eyes. "I don't know those girls," he said. But Claire laid out the DNA report. "Samples from Coffield, Mills, Pitzer, and Reeves match your DNA," she said firmly. "Polyester fibers from your truck. Brown paint from your shop. There's no more denying it, Gary." Ridgway was silent, then gave a faint smile. "You've been hunting me for almost 20 years, he said. "Fine, I'll talk." Over the next 4 hours, he confessed to 71 murders, describing how he lured girls, mostly sex workers, to the Green River area, strangled them with nylon cords or his hands, and dumped their bodies in the woods. "I came back to make sure they were dead," he said, voice flat, as if describing routine tasks. Claire took notes, hands shaking with disgust. "Why?" she asked. Ridgway shrugged. "They were garbage. Easy to kill." She left the room, victory overshadowed by his inhuman cruelty. Claire led the team to locations Ridgway pointed out, along the Green River and forests near Renton. Over 2 weeks, they uncovered the remains of 3 previously unidentified victims, all showing signs of strangulation and blue polyester fibers. One set of remains was confirmed to be Marie Malvar, the missing girl whose mother, Jane Carter, had pleaded for help years ago. "We found her," Claire whispered, staring into the misty woods. Forensic pathologist Robert Keppel confirmed the remains matched Ridgway's descriptions. "He knew exactly where he dumped them," Keppel said. "He returned to the sites, like a ritual." Claire examined brown paint samples from the scene, identical to what was used at Ridgway's shop. DNA from the new remains also matched. "Ridgway, he can't deny it anymore," she said, preparing the case files for trial. But the press and public remained skeptical. The Seattle Times ran the headline, "Green River Killer Confesses. Is it the truth?" Claire knew only the courtroom could bring justice. November 5th, 2003, Claire sat in the King County courtroom, facing Ridgway. Wearing prison attire, he bowed his head as the prosecutor read 48 murder charges, the number confirmed by DNA and remains. Families of the victims, including Jane Carter, filled the front row in tears. Jane looked at Claire and gave a nod of gratitude as part of a plea deal to avoid the death penalty. Ridgway repeated his confessions, describing the killings with chilling calm. "I chose them because they were easy to get rid of," he said. Claire gritted her teeth, taking notes, feeling both revulsion and closure. The judge sentenced Ridgway to life in prison without parole for 48 murders, acknowledging that dozens more victims might never be found. Outside the courtroom, the press swarmed Claire. "Detective Donovan, you caught the Green River Killer," a reporter shouted. Claire replied, voice heavy, "Justice was served, but too many girls were lost." She walked away from the courthouse, pressure lifting from her shoulders, but the shadow remained. Claire returned to the Green River one last time, standing in the forest where many bodies had been found. Drizzle fell, fog hung over the river. She held the final blue polyester fiber, recovered near Marie Malvar's remains, and dropped it into the water. "It's over," she whispered. But the darkness of the Green River Killer still haunted her. She remembered Ridgway's words. They were garbage. Claire gripped her notebook, where she had written the names of all 48 confirmed victims, and many more who might never be identified. She heard a sound in the woods, rustling leaves, but when she turned, it was only fog. "He's caught," she told herself. But the feeling of being watched never left. Claire walked away from the Green River, stepping into the Seattle rain, carrying a bitter victory. Justice had been served, but the river of red water still flowed in her mind, along with the names that would never be forgotten. After 19 years of pursuit, Claire Donovan brought Gary Leon Ridgway to justice in 2003. DNA, blue polyester fibers, and brown paint linked him to 48 murders. He confessed to 71, but the true number may be higher, with many remains never recovered. Though victorious, Claire remained haunted by the unnamed girls. The series ends with justice served, but leaves open the question of the true scale of the Green River Killer's crimes, and the pain of families still waiting for answers in Seattle's mist. You think the killer was caught? Dozens of bodies were never found. Did Claire Donovan truly deliver justice? Or will the horror continue to echo forever? Each episode uncovers a truth left in the dark. Hit subscribe so you won't miss a single chapter. And share the video if you believe justice should never be forgotten.